A warm welcome to Dodger's Trips. I'm Dodger, and what you've just been looking at is the rows of books in my upstairs bookcase. Now, today I'm going to be talking about my best ever Christmas present, and this stands out head and shoulders above anything else for the excitement that it, gave me when I discovered that I'd got it on Christmas Day. So I'm going to take you downstairs now to another bookcase, which is where I keep this special gift. Lots of Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, Faces, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke for me is the greatest singer of all time. Although, Rod Stewart was my hero growing up. And then we moved down, there's like Cray books, Johnny Cash, Bowie, Bolan, Elvis, Clash, Sex Pistols, gardening, lots of history, childhood annuals there, boys annuals, lots of books on cowboys and such things, westerns and photo albums. When I moved house about 2.5 years ago, I used to have like floor to ceiling bookcases, and I must have thrown away at least 2/3 of my book collection. So what remains is sort of the things I didn't want to part with, and one of those is a Christmas gift that I received in 1965. So we're talking 35, 36, 56 years ago this Christmas Day. Now, when we were kids, we would put a pillowcase up. I don't think they do that these days, do they? It's more like take an armchair each, and that gets filled with presents. But back in the sort of early 60s, it was a pillowcase. Now, there was 2 gifts that you could pretty much count on getting, and one of those was a tangerine, I believe, or an orange. I can't remember really from my memory, but the other thing was a rosy red apple, a bit like what Snow White got tempted with by the Wicked Witch. So these rosy red apples used to sort of baffle me because you never saw them in shops. So I always wondered, how does Santa get his hands on these like shiny red, bright red apples? It was always a mystery to me, was that. So the pillowcases, sometimes there'd be things poking out of the top, sometimes you'd have to delve in. So, presents were overflowing, but everything that we got was usually spot on for what we wanted. I don't know how I ever got into cowboys and the Wild West and having that sort of interest in American frontier, because we didn't have a TV. And we had hardly any books in the house, maybe a dozen books at most, DIY for my dad, or he used to like to keep these foreign birds in like an aviary in the house in one of the alcoves, so there's books about them. I think I did get a couple of like cowboy books, which might have sparked my interest just from looking, and staying for hours and the different pictures in there. But yeah, I remember getting cowboy outfits and all that sort of thing. So an interest in Wild West was there from a very early age. So 1965, Christmas Day, and it's my 7th birthday. So one of the presents, I dived into this pillowcase, my pillowcase, and I pulled out this book, and it meant the world to me. So we're going to dive in here, and if I can get the correct one, because I've got several now. That's 1967. Now, annuals, of course, are always dated for the year coming up, because they're always giving us gifts at Christmas. So this is the annual for 1966, but I received it on Christmas Day 65. Unfortunately, the front cover is missing. The back cover is there, which was identical to the front cover. The Hotspur Book for Boys, 1966. Now, I religiously used to get the Hotspur every Thursday when it came out, Now this was one of the main two comics, I would say, for lads in the early 60s. Hotspur tended to have a story about the Wild West on the cover. The other main comic was The Victor. Don't know if any of you remember that, if you're as old as I am. But The Victor used to concentrate on war stories as their cover feature, and you know, most of the stories inside were World War One, World War Two based. The Hotspur had a lot of stuff about the West, so this was my comic of choice. So this was the very first Hotspur annual I ever received from Santa, and I would go on, you know, maybe for 5-6 more years getting these every year. But to get this very first one was such a thrill. I can't describe the excitement of getting that. And I would look at this book. Oh, I mean, all year, it would last you all year long. And I was, you know, entranced by the stories and the illustrations, of course. There was always some certain characters that were carried over from the weekly comics into the annuals. The Wolf of Kabul is another bloke. He was a really good cricketer, and he used his cricket bat as a weapon to defeat his... oh, may Allah have mercy on you, man of the Duranis. Yeah, and his cricket bat was called Clicky Bar. So Clicky Bar liked to look at that. You see, look, the excitement in that picture there, the action. Take that, dog. No. So there we are. Oh, the Trail of the Pink Pancake. Scruffy. Now he was a regular. Scruffy, this schoolboy. Yeah, he always ended up in a scrape, and always ended up going home dead, covered in mud or something or other. Lonely Larry. He was another of the regulars in the Hotspur. Fella who was cast away on a desert island, Pacific island. There used to be a couple of these sort of written stories which they were never my favourites. I don't know if I ever did read them. I probably did, but yeah, they were nothing compared to the comic stories. Look at that for a trick shot. Reminds me of me in Amaritsa. There was one story about a rescue helicopter, and there was one of the pictures and the script in there that used to, I thought was a bit daring, a bit whoa. My mum can't read this, 'cause to me it was tantamount to swearing, and it's this particular square here, and he shouts up, "The cheeky beggars." So to me, as a 7-year-old, calling someone a cheeky beggar, that was swearing. So to read that story was a bit daring. This was another story that I remember that gripped me. The boy who followed fire engines. He always wanted to be a fireman when he grew up. You get the occasional stories about real life people. Arthur, Pendragon of the Britons. Grasshopper Green, he was another favourite, regular in the comics, the weekly comics. Another boy's own hero, Shackleton, trailblazer of the Antarctic. Fabulous stories. That, as I say, the pictures just used to have you entranced. Another, well, it's The Secret of the Skipjack, another written story there. I don't think I ever did read that one. Dozy Danny, he was another one. Yeah, Dozy Danny Lorimer, 12-year-old boy. He was good at football. And then the inside back cover, the inside front cover, there was always a theme. So in this 1966 annual, it was civilian aircraft of the world. Boeing 707, BAC, British United Airways. See, a lot of these have all gone on. British European Airways, they have all gone. Now, what I was wanting to show you was one particular story in the Hotspur annual for 1966. It was a story of a young US cavalryman, and he trained, he saw the skill that the local Shoshone Indians had with their lances, and he learned how to use a lance while riding on horseback, and he ended up training some of the US cavalrymen. Apparently, it's based on a true story. And one of the troops in his regiment adopted the lance as a weapon for warfare, which was a bit unusual in those days. So I wanted to show you that because that was a story that I probably read more than any other, and I was pretty sure I had the front cover and the first few pages which would have included that story. I thought that was with this book, but maybe in moving it's got lost, or maybe it's somewhere else, kept in a safe place in the house. I'll probably come across it. I hope so, because that was the main remembrance of that annual was that one story. So, I mean, do you have any particular one-off present that was better than anything else that's, it's in your memory has stood the test of time as being the greatest Christmas gift you ever got? Obviously, I've had great, thoughtful presents, more expensive presents, but to receive my very first Hotspur annual, that was just such a massive thrill, and it will always remain my best ever Christmas present. It led to, encouraged an interest even more in the Wild West. Of course, growing up, you have your cowboy outfits, you have your 6 guns and holsters and all that kind of thing, and you'd play out in the street, cowboys and Indians. And then, I kept that interest all the way through. And in the 1990s, I was lucky enough to travel to the USA, and 1993 and 1996 made 2 trips, and I got to go to sort of the site of Custer's Last Stand, Deadwood. Went to the saloon where Wild Bill got shot, saw his death chair, seen where he's buried, all these kind of things linked to the Wild West. So we travelled around the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana. Both times went to those areas. Absolutely wonderful. And if you've not sort of looked back at me older videos on the channel, check them out. There's quite a few of travelling around the USA, if that's the sort of thing that you might be interested in. Well, thanks very much for watching today. Just my memory of this one present, but the greatest Christmas gift that I ever received. But please let us know in the comments, your favourite ever present. It'd be great to hear from you. Until then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again wherever the next trip takes us. Till then, Dodger and out.